Hello and welcome to the Rotten Commentatoes podcast, take number 2.
Technically, I think
Darren's
it's
not
take
allowed to
number
smoke
3.
weed before we do the podcast anymore.
Why? You're the one who's restarting.
I'm restarting because you're fucking insane.
What? Because of the fight thing?
Tonight we watched A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place. Which is not A Quiet Place. Spoiler alert. It's a loud fucking movie.
A film directed by John Krasinski, a.k.a. Jim from The Office.
My boy
and
Jim.
Let me reiterate. Spoilers. Do not listen to this fucking podcast and deprive yourself of a very good movie. Okay?
What Keegan said.
The movie opens up with Jim and his family at a pharmacy, and obviously it's post-apocalyptic. The windows are blown in. They're wandering around this store, and they're being very careful not to make any noise. You immediately pick up on this. The main characters speak in sign language in this store, and one of the kids is 4 years old, and he almost knocks over a toy.
Challenger.
Space Challenger. Sure. Yeah, it's the Challenger. They have specifically the one fucking space shuttle that exploded. That's the one that they have as a toy there. This is why you're not allowed to be high during the recording process.
God!
Okay, so the kid is playing with the famously destroyed Challenger, and the sister takes it away from him, and Jim, in sign language, says it's too loud, he can't take it, takes the batteries out, and puts the toy back. But then the daughter, who is deaf, and we know this because every time she's the focal point of a scene, the sound cuts out, she gives the kid the okay to take it, but as they're leaving, he picks up the fucking batteries. And of course, bad news. Darren looked over at me and said natural selection as he was leaving the pharmacy. Selection.
And in true Challenger fashion, it was a disaster.
I hope it was the fucking Challenger. That'd be insane. So they're walking across train tracks, and everywhere they go, they're walking on sand so as to make no noise. And of course, if you've seen the trailer, the kid sparks off the fucking space shuttle and it starts making noise because he's a 4-year-old idiot, and he puts the batteries back in. And Jim rushes towards them but doesn't make it before a giant monstrous creature comes out of the forest and kills the kid off camera because it's like PG-13, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's still,
as you know,
still pretty savage, though, the gut punch.
If you've listened to the It podcast that we did, or I think there's a few others, we do love child murders on this podcast, so we felt a little deprived.
Yeah, it could have been a little more it-ish.
Could have had a little something for the boys, Fuck.
I like that. I like that little part of the movie because it doesn't show you the monster very much.
They did that amazingly. That's another trope for horror movies. Me and Darren touch on it a few times. Basically, when you show the monster too much, you're ruining your movie because CGI can't keep that. They can't do natural motion. There's just something about motion that CGI cannot capture. Things don't move the way that CGI moves. It's like the way it picks up the light, etc. It ruins your
suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, exactly. So they did a great job of just having the monster show up for split seconds, or it was actually like, I believe it was a structured, like a guy in makeup when it did most of its long scenes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Or at least partially. Yeah, which was really well done. But to go back to basically the main thing that made this movie good for me was the play that they did with sound. So like I said, when the deaf daughter is the focal point of a scene, you lose all sound. The main characters are almost never speaking, either in whispers or at full volume. Like it's a luxury to be able to speak. They only do it at a couple points during the movie. And when we were sitting in the theater, you could hear people picking up their popcorn. You could hear my phone when it buzzed, when it was on silent mode.
And this is like the perfect groundwork for infinite jump scares.
Yeah, that was one thing that I did not enjoy, is they really cranked the volume to 10 in the 30 places during the movie where there was a lot of noise. It was just instant and out of nowhere, which is what horror movies do, but I fucking hate that. I just have no respect for that building of suspense.
Why? You're not a jump scare guy?
No, it's cheap, man.
I
It's
used
cheap.
to think that too, but a good jump scare is unique. It's all in the editing, right? It all happens in the editing.
How many fucking times during this movie did they have, like, okay, there's a scene where two raccoons jump off of the roof of their house and they think it's the monster, and then the raccoons scream as they jump off of the house, and you think that it's the alien, and then they run away and they're like cooing after. But it's that kind of shit. I hate when like a cat pops out of a cupboard in a horror movie, but it sounds like whatever the other thing is, because they got a creative sound designer. It's just fucking cheesy.
Yeah,
there's no way two raccoons jumping off a roof.
That's what I was thinking. There were a couple jump scares where the sounds were outlandish.
Way too big. Like, there's a scene where a piece of metal falls into a grain elevator shaft into corn, and it makes like a fucking steel thumping sound. It's like, there's no fucking way if you dropped a piece of metal onto a bunch of corn, they would make a steel on steel noise. It's just stupid as fuck. But this is little things. This is my...
Yeah, overall, it was a great movie. It was very enjoyable. It was entertaining. Yeah, it was intense, too. It was a super intense movie.
Just, the sound design just took it to a whole other level, and I think it's because you're experiencing something that's a little bit new. So there were a lot of tropes. This could basically be called, like, Signs, but better with Jim.
Signs, but better with Jim, coming soon to a theater near you.
This is why I'm not an English major anymore. All my papers
the guy
are retarded
from The Office who played Jim stars in
Mel Gibson's Signs without Mel Gibson, plus more kids.
And Jim
with a beard. John Krasinski is picking amazing roles. I actually like him as a movie actor.
Well, I think he really shined in this one because he's so expressive with his face, and you pick up on that watching The Office. His face.
Yeah, he definitely got that from The Office. There's a lot of panning to camera, and like his kid gets killed on the railway bridge, and he just looks at camera. And he's like, "Yeah, you know, classic
Jim. It's classic Jim losing his kids to the aliens."
But if we could move past the first scene, because we're 7 minutes in. So the daughter essentially causes the brother's death.
Well,
and she's deaf, so she's a big liability. That's instantly recognizable. She can't hear what she's doing, so she ends up... they're playing Monopoly a few scenes later, and that's when the raccoon jumps off the roof, and they think one of the big ones is coming, but she knocks over a fucking lantern. Or the brother does. I can't remember which, but basically, like,
it was the brother, because he was saying sorry afterwards.
Maybe. But if you're deaf, there's no way you can know. It's like that Family Guy skit where Marley Matlin was farting and she couldn't tell. That must be tough for deaf people. The whole passing wind, not knowing if you just made a huge noise or not.
Well, I think you can feel that.
But, so they do weird shit, like, they were eating their food not on plates, but on mats, so they couldn't make any scraping noises. For some reason, they cooked their fish in the floorboards. I don't know what that was about. Maybe that's something that they do in, like, where was this? St. Louis?
I don't know.
I didn't catch where it was. There was a few telltale signs to where it was. I believe there was a sign on the outside of the farm. But basically, like, everything has to be modified. They even have sand running through their house. Like, everywhere they go, they're walking on sand. They just have to walk on sand, or else they make too much noise.
I like the filler that they have.
Like I said, they never speak.
Of Jim from The Office, like, topping up the paths with these huge bags of sand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because that's something that you'd have to maintain.
Definitely. And they put a lot of thought into how this would work. Obviously, like, they painted or they sanded off parts of the floor where you could walk so it wouldn't creak, etc. And they live on this farm, and it's kind of like a mini compound. They have lighting strung up across the field, and they have a yellow light or a red light. And if it's red, it means shit's going down.
Was thinking,
which they end up using later in the movie.
Do you think the red light was specifically meant to signify her labor?
No, I
just
think it was
standard
meant to signify if anything went down, because the lights led down to that. They have an underground bunker that was soundproof, and the lights ended right at the door of the bunker. So I think that it was if anything bad happened, they could flick that switch and be able to find their way there. Or if anybody was coming back, especially the daughter, because she can't hear, right? So if something's going on 100 feet behind her, and they flick those lights, she'd be able to see that rather than get eaten. So basically, what's that, Chekhov's gun?
Yeah, that's hilarious. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Chekhov's gun is if you put a gun in a room in a play in the first act, by the third act it has to have gone off. So we find out in the beginning of the film that the mother is pregnant now. Now that they've fast forwarded to the 400 days, she's pregnant. So you know that the central conceit of the film is going to be getting this woman's baby out without it getting eaten by a giant razor monster.
Yeah.
So me and Darren were sitting there and we're like, how the fuck would you allow yourself to get pregnant under these conditions? It's like the most dangerous possible thing you could do.
Yeah, but then I was thinking you kind of have to, or else everyone's just gonna go extinct.
I think like 1 year is not enough time to be like, well, we'll never fix this. It's time to
they already have 2 children, so they've already done their part. They've brought a male and a female.
It is fucking insane to not have a hospital or any. The one person with medical expertise looks to be the mom. There's no way the gym's gonna be able to stop some fucking internal hemorrhaging if the baby doesn't come out right.
No, it's
etc. etc.
It's like, were they trying to replace the kid that they lost?
The youngest son? You know what
would they have had a fourth? Would they have had a fourth kid?
It's in the United States, so I think that they don't believe in birth control.
Hey, oh my god, yeah. They're pro-life, hardcore.
Well, honey, now that these aliens have come down in their asteroid, it reminds me of Proverbs. Never pull out.
Never pull out.
So we get the setup. We know that that this is going to be a fucking terrible tragedy when this kid comes out, because basically, like, if you fucking sneeze, these aliens are coming around. Like, they're constantly hounding these people whenever you make a fucking noise. Like, they're playing Monopoly and knock over a lantern, and they almost all get ended for it. So the dad takes the son out on a little trip to learn how to do the upkeep for the farm. So, like, there's a river where they trap fish, and there's also other survivors. You find that out at some point. I think it's after they have dinner on the first night that you're with them. They light a beacon fire, and you're like, oh, that's actually smart. Like, I would have a beacon too, so that people would know, like, if they're smart enough to survive this long, you can come here and we'll, like, meet up. But then you see there's multiple fires that all get lit around. So there's other communities, other small communities that have survived this.
Yeah.
But he takes the son out, shows him
and
where
the
the traps
chick,
are.
I was kind of like, why didn't he take the daughter out? She's older. She's clearly more capable in a lot of ways, but I guess she can't hear.
She can't fucking hear. No way. And she killed the brother.
Well, sort of. That wasn't because of her deafness.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so your daughter's an idiot and she's deaf. That's just too many strikes.
Yeah, but the kid is like a ultimate pansy.
What do you mean ultimate pansy?
I don't know, man. He's pretty scared.
Oh, the son? Yeah, so the son that survived is obviously severely traumatized by watching his brother get eaten by a fucking 8-foot-long...
Whatever the fuck.
What do you call it? Like a bat shark?
I don't fucking know. It had some praying mantis kind of vibes to it with its long-ass fucking arms.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something like if Dracula and Ultron from the Avengers had a baby and it was an alien.
It's kind of had a Venom look to it. When those little things weren't sticking out of his head.
So you don't see it for the first bit, but it has almost like wings. It's got that reverse bend, really long arms, So it almost looks like it could take flight. Like, it definitely is good at crawling around, and it's got some praying mantis fucking claws on the end of its arms, but it's kind of humanoid too, except that its skull is in segments and it opens them up to here. So, like, when it's really excited, its whole face opens up into, like, this open ear canal / mouth.
Some weird ass shit. That's some more Tool. That's like some more Tool music video shit.
Definitely. It actually reminded me of Annihilation a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I was not expecting the monster to be so humanoid in shape.
They definitely had quite a bit of money in this movie because, yeah, I'm getting used to seeing really shitty monsters, and this one actually held up.
Yeah.
Like, talking about CGI not being able to get the job done, this thing at certain points it goes underwater.
Oh, that
was
it
slips underwater.
Awesome.
Just so ergonomical. It looks like it belongs there. Like, it turns into a fucking shark. And then also, at one point, it's running through the cornfield, and it doesn't, like... It doesn't move up and down. Like, if a bear or something was running, you know, there's an up and down motion. This thing just fucking claws across the ground, so it just stays at, like, this even height while it's just motoring across this corn.
Dude, that was one thing that the scene in the beginning, when the kid gets killed, something that did really well was it just immediately showed how fast and deadly these things are. Because it basically just, like, fucking cartwheels across the trail.
Yeah, it's moving through the trees, and it's, like, not necessarily on the ground either. Like, it's fucking motoring, no matter the terrain. This thing is, like... They really got that across, man. Like, it didn't look weird when it was getting into the water. It doesn't look weird when it's running in a straight line, and it sure as fuck did not look weird when it was running through the trees. Like, whoever designed the motion for this thing did a hell of a job. It looked amazing. It looked like something that could really exist. But, so he takes the kid down to the river, and the kid's really scared of getting eaten by one of these fucking things. And then...
There's a little fish trap.
Jim drops a fish. Yeah. Jim drops a fish and makes a noise, and the kid's freaking the fuck out because he thinks they're going to get eaten. But he's like, look, like, we're by the river. Small sounds are okay. Large sounds are not. And then they go to a waterfall, and they get to scream. Like, Jim's like, hey, look at this. And they both yell under this waterfall because there's so much ambient noise that you can't be heard. So it's really interesting, like, as you're going through this movie, you really got the sense of kind of being with them because of how quiet you are in perspective with how quiet they are. And even, like I said, you can hear people grabbing their fucking popcorn. Like, what movie can you hear people picking up popcorn? There's no movie like that, because if something's that slow, then some asshole in the back row is talking to Darren. But you became acutely aware of the noise around you. So they're walking home after that, and they move through this house, or beside this house, and they see this old guy just fucking standing there over top of, like, his dead wife, because I guess she just got eaten.
I don't know. I don't know. I think that was weird because they would have taken her. They would have eaten her. That's what they do, right? They're feeding on us.
Do we know that though? We don't get to see.
What else would it?
Maybe they just hate noise. Like, when the whole world's quiet, they'll be done. Like,
well, they gotta eat something, and those motherfuckers definitely eat no salad.
I don't know, man. They don't really abide by the rules of physics, and they also fuck up electronics when they get close to them. So there's something else going on with these guys. You know, they might plug in with little, like, battery packs. Who knows? But the guy ends up, like, Jim does his classic looks at the camera, and then he does his shh face without the shh part, because that would have got him killed. And then the guy looks at him, and he's like, nah. And he just screams, and then one of the things comes out of nowhere and eats him while Jim runs away and, like, hides his child and also stops his child from screaming. That kid is super fucking traumatized, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I watched Alien when I was 6, and I imagine that's what I would have been like around that time.
Well, this, I think, is a prime example of why you should just throw away weak children like the Spartans did. Because if the Spartans ever went through this, they would have some hard-ass fucking kids ready for some shit.
I tell you what, bitches. Man. Jim was my favorite character in this movie. Him and his wife were pretty badass. The only problem with this movie is that they have kids. The kids cause every fucking
the only
problem this couple has. Just like in real life.
Oh, hey, I know why. I know why they wanted to have more kids. Because when they die, like, you wouldn't want to just have one kid, because when the parents die, it's just like that kid, he's by himself. Survival in numbers. They'd need like a little band. They'd need a little band of brothers and sisters to have a better chance of.
I think it's cannon fodder.
Cannon fodder. The meat field.
If one of those things is coming, they can just like fucking punt the deaf one in the ass.
That's what I was saying, because she used the egg timer.
Yeah.
Like, you could like just turn that to like 10 seconds and then throw it like a grenade, and the thing would just like go off. You could just run off. I would have had fucking sound traps all over that shit.
But they skulk around for hours. That's one of the problems. Like, basically the mother goes into labor while shit's going down with Jim and his son, and she pulls a nail out of one of the floorboards while she's walking past it with a bag of laundry, like a bag of wet laundry, and she doesn't notice. And as she's coming back down the stairs in another scene, she stands on it and drops a fucking picture frame, and it shatters everywhere, and she screams. So one of the things comes, and she has to hide behind like their hot water heater, and she's going into fucking labor. Her water just broke in the scene before that, so she's having a hell of a time staying quiet.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember where I was going with that.
Well, she's going into labor, so she's, most likely fucked at that point, is what you're thinking. Wait, how's she going to get out of this? As I'm assuming she was on her way to the soundproof area.
Yeah.
But the creature shows up.
So basically, when you start the movie, you're like, oh fuck, like, they're not prepared for this. They don't have any soundproofing. I was sitting there like, dude, I'd have the whole floor covered in pillows. Everything would be just a fucking mass of blankets.
And it shows in the beginning, it shows the kids like pasting on newspaper clippings onto the wall.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was them adding to the soundproof room.
But my thought was like, what the fuck, Jim? Like, you've had 9 months to figure out a way to get your wife through pregnancy. Like, why didn't you just dig like 100-foot hole to put her in if you have to have this child? And then of course
you put her in 100-foot hole. She would just.
I'm just saying. Yeah, this is gotta be
to her death.
Oh my god! I'm not saying drop her into 100-foot.
So you're gonna build like a well with like a pulley system,
like a fucking room down there.
You're gonna fucking like this is like some Buffalo Bill shit. It rubs the lotion.
It puts the lotion on its skin.
What else gets the hose again?
Yes, what I thought was, Jim, why didn't you serial kill your wife in this post-apocalyptic
Just
future?
dig 100-foot deep hole, man.
What a point of conjecture there. How did I think that was a good idea? How did I think that was a good idea?
How did you think making a podcast with me was a good idea?
I like it less and less by the day. So that if I can ever get to this fucking point, is that he built a little fucking sub basement to his barn and soundproofed the fuck out of it.
And he built a baby box.
Shut. You are not allowed to smoke weed. You are skipping ahead so much.
Hey, that's just it's foreshadowing to the baby box.
A foreshadowing is you just laughing at yourself as you say baby box. Okay. So she gets the egg timer. She throws it. The monster goes after the egg timer. They're fucking scary, man. They got a wingspan on them. She walks past it as it's like busting up their fucking shiffer robes down there, and walks upstairs and is in the bathtub about to get fucking murked because she's screaming because there is blood.
Yeah, she starts fucking bleeding.
At which point the son shoots off some rockets because old Jim Dad told him to, and right as those rockets are going off, she just fucking wails in pain. And Jim is running through the house, silent scope style, with his shotgun, comes up the stairs and sees the bathtub full of blood, and he's like, "Oh my fucking god, my wife is dead. Holy shit. And then, no, it turns out she's just in the shower bleeding. And then they got this fucking baby. And I will say, I have never gone so fucking white girl in a movie in my life. I had my hands over my face the whole time, just fucking like, I was so scared for this family. I was like, oh my god, there's a fucking baby? There's a fucking baby now?
Yeah.
Are you shitting me? Like, did you not think this through? Babies are not quiet.
No, man,
especially when they come out of vaginas.
Egg Timer 2.0.
Honestly, if I had a baby and I was going to get eaten by one of those things or throw the baby, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Baby. You're gone. But luckily enough, we didn't have to see that.
But it's like a
rack up the
last resort perk.
I didn't think this was that kind of movie. I didn't think we were going to see a baby get thrown.
No, I didn't think so either, but I'm just saying.
So, Jim carries his newly born son and his wife down through the house and into this room, and the fucking baby starts crying, and I literally spent like 45 minutes of this movie with my hands over my mouth talking to Jim. Talking about how they were fucked. And they just barely get in there before this thing is behind him, and he pulls a fucking mattress over the top of the door and gets his wife down there. And the baby's fucking crying, and you hear the monster running up above him because it can hear them down there. It's sure that there's something in this fucking barn. And then they take this baby and put it in a box. And you're like, well, what the fuck? Like, how are you going to keep the baby
No, they've got
quiet?
oxygen. They got like the tank hooked up to it.
They got an oxygen tank, which I was like, what are they, sedating a baby?
Like, it's some sedative.
You're going to give your baby brain damage to keep it quiet? Like, no wonder your kid's
That baby is just high as fuck, floating around in a box.
And then they jam a lid on the box because the baby's crying. You're like, well, they're fucked. This is over. They put a lid on the box, and all of a sudden you can't hear the baby. Thank fucking God. Jesus. The amount of tension. And Darren just looks over at me and he's like, they put a baby in a box.
It was ridiculous. It was just, I don't know. It was just this.
It's a funny concept. Like, why don't we just do that now?
Put a baby, like, could you imagine, like, a crib with a lid?
Can you imagine him drawing up the plans for that? We're gonna build a very small soundproof coffin, and we're gonna feed oxygen through there, because babies are fucking loud.
Children will never fall out of the crib again. Introducing the crib lid.
So, the cribbed keeper.
The cribbed keeper. Little baby coffin.
So they get through it. Jim and his wife have a little heart-to-heart about their dead son. She's talking about how basically she could have carried the son and then he never would have fucking got that stupid space shuttle going.
Oh, yeah. Everyone blames themselves.
Which, by the way, okay, so they're probably 8 feet away from this kid when the monster eats him. How the fuck did they get out of there?
The monster just took off with the kid. It just kept going, man. There was no stopping that fucking thing. It was on a roll.
Oh, I thought it flattened it. Because when it eats the raccoon, it just reaches out a hand and fucking slaps that raccoon and turns it into jam.
Fucking road kills their kid right in front of them.
That was probably the funniest moment in the whole movie, is when the raccoon is making like little clucking sounds as it's walking. It's just all happy and shit after it's scared the family. And then this hand comes out of the corner and just fucking squashes it.
A little snack.
Snack,
little raccoon nugget for those dudes.
I didn't think it ate it. It was just like, fuck you. You make noise.
Not only does it kill and hunt humans, but it's also just kind of like a rebel, a badass.
I think it just has a crazy sound aversion. It just has a crazy sound aversion.
Yeah.
It's like a cat with a headache, you know? Just the world's greatest asshole.
The world's greatest asshole. I got a migraine. Always.
Splutch. Yeah, that's what happens when your whole top of your head is a fucking ear.
Yeah. Some giant, super crazy alien ear.
So, Jim, thus far, after his child has been born, has been sitting with his wife for God knows how long, and they're all celebrating the new baby. Meanwhile, his deaf child and his son that set off the fireworks are just outside with upwards of 2 of these fucking monsters, and he kind of realizes that. Because the wife's like, where's the kids? And he's like, they're okay.
Not with me, not here.
And she's like, you gotta protect them. You gotta make sure they're okay. Hashtag foreshadowing for this fucking ending. So Jim comes outside. The kids are on top of the grain elevator as they've been instructed to go in a case of an emergency such like this, and they're waiting for their dad. And they fall through the grain elevator door.
Quicksand.
I don't know, like, there's a real lack of foresight in these children. They just do not,
there are children.
Like, it would be so hard. Children. It would be so hard to have a child during a vampire bat-esque alien invasion. I'm telling you, I would have given up. I would have given up in the first week. I'm like, you know what? Take these fucking maracas and just go walking around outside. I don't give a shit anymore.
They're egg timers, man.
Living egg timers. The just in cases. Yeah, so they fall into the grain elevator shaft. Also, one thread that we've missed the whole time that's going to come back now. The deaf daughter, Jim, being the loving father that he is, keeps trying to fix her up with a hearing aid on the one ear that kind of works a tiny bit, and he can never get it right. So he gives her a new prototype right before he goes on his little expedition with his son. And this is going to come into play really quick here. One of the aliens obviously hears them fall into the grain elevator and comes looking for them, and it jumps down, gets on top of them, puts its little claws through this metal door that they're hiding behind, and then the fucking hearing aid starts going off, doing feedback loops as the monster gets closer, because they set off some sort of electromagnetic shit when they get close to electronics.
That shit was so fucking loud.
Yeah.
And then assault on the audience as well.
I actually that was not the scariest part.
No, I'm just as like a sonic assault. It's just the sound. They make it so loud and so brutally uncomfortable that you hate the sound.
I didn't even notice it, honestly.
Oh fuck, that shit was terrible. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
I was so locked into the giant alien monster that I just did not clue in. When I got out of this movie, I was shaking. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was full on fucking muscle twitching in the thighs.
But there were no bears.
Oh, don't start with this. It's not a bit that's gonna work. It's the worst bit you've ever come up with.
Oh, fuck off.
Darren has this bit.
It's not a bit.
It's not a bit. It's a bit, and now I'm gonna give it to the audience. I told him he shouldn't do it on the podcast because it's a dumb bit. I was scared of the bear from Annihilation, and I hate watching horror movies in theaters because I get migraines under fucking stressful conditions. So I get migraines when I watch horror movies sometimes. And then Darren was like, "Oh, well, I bet you didn't like Yogi Bear. I bet you didn't like Pooh Bear when you were a kid."
See, you just blah, blah, your delivery on the joke is just terrible, though.
Your joke is terrible.
The delivery is just terrible. You just gotta sneak them in there every once in a while.
I'm scared of bears. Big fucking deal. There you go, audience. I'm afraid of zombie bears that steal your soul. Big fucking whoop. If a fucking zombie bear from Annihilation comes to your house and it tries to smell up on you, you'd be scared too. Nobody can fucking deny that.
What? Holy shit.
That joke's tough. I think I just stole your material and then just fucking wiped it.
And ruined it? You killed it?
You're
murdered
welcome.
it? So you called me, and you called me the sociopath? Murder my joke.
You laughed at putting a baby in a box. You are a bit of a...
that was unforeseen. I was not expecting to see a baby be put in a box.
So, the fucking hearing aid starts going off, and the monster runs away, and it actually tears through the side of this fucking grain silo, which is made out of metal. These things are tough, guys. I cannot stress enough. During this movie, you get a real sense that you are completely fucked if one of these things has an inkling that you are around. Yeah. I think the one fatal flaw in the design is that they cannot smell. You know what I mean? Like, who was engineering these guys? Whose fucking job was it to make these guys? And they're like, well, they can hear really good, so no, they don't need to see or smell. No big deal. You know what I mean? You gotta go the extra mile when you're making monsters. So Jim runs over and they hug, and he's like, oh shit, you guys are alive, sweet, awesome, we have a new brother. And then the monster comes back because it's only scared of this fucking little hearing aid that she's wearing, but it still knows they're there, obviously. And it comes back around, and they're like, alright guys, we gotta make a break for the truck. And the fucking monster, Jim stays right where he is. He tells them that they're gonna go for the truck, but he's pulling a hero move. So he's like, kids, go get in the truck, like, we're gonna get out of here. And he's like, nah, fuck this, I gotta be a hero. So the monster is up above him, and Jim grabs a fucking fire axe, and he makes one good swing at it, but the monster just fucking dummies him, like just slaps him aside and mortally wounds him.
Tosses him.
But a really great image. Jim Halpert with full-on beard, with an axe in his hand fighting an alien. That is something that I did not know I needed, but I'm glad that I have.
Dwight would be jealous.
So as he gets flung to the side...
Asshole.
Nice. As he gets flung to the side, one of the kids screams "Dad" from the truck, and then the monster runs over there and starts getting at them. And the fucking hearing aid...
so brutal.
Starts going off again, and then it's about to run away.
Fuck.
But then the fucking the deaf kid turns it off. So Jim crawls to his feet. This monster is sitting on top of the truck, figuring out how it's gonna eat these children. He looks up at his kids, and he's like bleeding out, and he signs to them, and he's like, "I love you. I've always loved you." And at that point, I actually almost burst out crying. Like, we are doing a skeleton's synopsis of this movie, but actually, like, just the intensity of the movie and realistically, like, the high stakes, like, trying to raise children in this environment, you really got this fucking palpable sense of just, like, how much that these kids have to mean to them, like how hard it would be to be a parent under these circumstances.
Oh, totally.
And I fucking almost...
I think this horror movie would be a lot more effective for parents. Like, parents watching this movie would probably be substantially more held in suspense and more terrified watching that movie because they would be able to relate so much more.
Definitely. And I think it worked on me too. Like I said,
it was
45 minutes of just talking to the screen.
It was
because
super intense.
It's just so relentless. The timing of the jump scares combined with, like, the first part of this movie happens, they go from the 89th day to the 472nd day, and then the last half of the movie happens in one fucking night. So there's just so much suspense. The mom's having a baby. The baby's crying. You don't want a fucking monster to eat the baby. You don't want the monster to eat the mom. You don't want the monster to eat the old guy that screams. Everybody is constantly, like, 1 inch away from being fucked up by this
thing. It's a super
and you actually care.
Intense movie.
So Jim does the sign language thing. I burst into tears. He gives this, like, feral yell, and then the monster comes and decapitates him. And I was just so fucking chapped.
No, that was a mega. It was a mega gut punch. It was a huge gut punch.
Yeah, it was so sad because he didn't cause any of this. Like, he is the best one of them at surviving and keeping everyone together. And ultimately, like, his wife told him he has to look after the kids. Big foreshadowing for this moment. But ultimately, he can't do any more than to die for them in this moment. So he just gives this fucking roar, and the monster comes and kills him, and then the kid hits the e-brake on the truck, which they obviously have set up.
So it'll roll down this hill back to the house.
Yeah, and it rolls down the hill to the mom.
Man, meanwhile, all this shit's going down. The fucking underground, like the basement baby room, soundproof baby room that they've made is flooded.
The baby coffin.
The baby coffin room is flooded. And this little baby coffin's just bobbing around on the surface.
Yeah, and Emily Blunt basically comes to after having a little rest while all this shit's going down with Jim. And I'm sure we're fucking up the timeline slightly, but it's basically like you've always got two plot lines going in this movie, which is good. It shows really good focus by the director. But she wakes up and the basement is flooding with water from these things are fucking strong. Like, it took out walls when it was up above trying to get to the baby. So it cut through one of their water reservoirs, and it's leaking down into this little trench that they've built. And so the baby is literally floating in the middle of the water, and she gets up and she's gonna like go grab the baby, and then one of the fucking
just
things
sitting
is
there,
and it's clicking its teeth
into
like
the fucking water.
Yeah, like a bat would use echolocation. It's fucking clicking its teeth to make noise so it can kind of check out around. And it just slips under the surface of the water like a shark. It literally just instantly it goes from like this weird fucking praying mantis and it slips almost under the water and it looks like a shark. It's unreal. And at that moment I was like, holy shit. Like, I was saying the whole time, I was like, why didn't they just go out on a boat or like up into the Arctic or something?
Up to the Arctic.
Like, oh fuck, like these things can pretty much go wherever they please. So the baby starts crying, the mom's backing away, and just as she is backed in the corner about to die because they're fucking crying baby, they fall into the grain elevator. That's how the timeline went. And so she gets saved by the kids falling.
Yeah. The grain elevator scene was pretty stressful. It was a stressful one.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know much about farming, but I am fairly certain that there have been people that have
fallen in,
killed in grain elevators.
Yeah. They fall in and it's like quicksand.
Yeah. Worse than quicksand.
Like
that thing, There's too much room in there, but you can still...
It's quicker sand.
It's corn sand.
Corn sand.
So... The kids, the mom has made her way to the house during this crazy climactic battle that Jim has done with the monster, and they come into the house and they sit down. They meet the new brother. The daughter gets to see what's in the room. She wasn't allowed downstairs for the longest time, and I think it's because there was too much shit that she could touch that would make noise.
Yeah, that's the gist that I took away there.
Electronic equipment. For sure. And she sees where her dad had been looking at a fucking ear anatomy book, trying to figure out how to make her a working hearing aid. And, like, that was very emotional, too.
Yeah, because he's already dead now, right? Yeah. Spoiler alert, by the way.
She got mad that Jim could never get a working hearing aid, but he kept, like, trying. And then she sees that he's got, like, 30 in pieces that he was constantly working on trying to give her that.
Help her survive.
And then you start to hear that the fucking monster, there's another one, or the same one, is upstairs now, looking for them. And it comes downstairs, and...
The mother's got a shotgun.
Yeah, the mom's got a shotgun. The daughter's backed up against this wall, like, kind of reading all the shit about the... Jim had listed, like, what are their weaknesses, blah, 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 and it was kind of inconclusive, and everybody's talking about sound. And the fucking baby starts crying. So the monster is, like, gearing up. It knows that they're down here. And then the daughter sees she focuses on the thing that says, like, sound, and she turns on her fucking hearing aid. Lo and behold, the monster goes into, like, a mini seizure. And backs itself up out of the room and like, falls over. This part I didn't really enjoy. I didn't like how it went into a full-on, like, fucking stroke when it heard, like, a hearing aid.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me because the other ones didn't react that intensely to it. They just took off. Like, why didn't it just run off away from the sound?
Yeah, and also, this is where it got very Signs. Like, in the movie
Signs...
Oh, totally.
It was so... Yes, it was very Signs. The water!
Yeah, so like they literally get killed by like a glass of water. So this thing all of a sudden is like this one note just really fucks it up and it like dies from it. It's like, come on, like could you at least have a little bit of skill other than magically at the end of the movie? It's an ex machina, basically. An ex machina is God in the machine, and it means that like an act of God. So the characters didn't do anything smart. They didn't figure anything out or use any skill to win at the end of the movie. It literally just happens by chance.
Yeah, I think that was also almost another Chekhov's gun. That whole the hearing aid.
Definitely at least thematic. So the daughter jams the fucking hearing aid against a microphone that's amplifying the signal in the room and perhaps all around the compound, and the fucking thing really starts freaking out and like passes out, and they're like, yay, it's dead, and then it gets up and it like looks at them, and then the mom shoots it in the fucking head and it dies because it's got its like little ears.
Yeah, it's got its patchwork skull.
And this part is like, this is really when it started to wear down, because you're getting hit with these emotional punches, but then the logic of the film broke down.
Yeah, just a little bit, but just a little bit is enough to, like, the movie all of a sudden took on a very different atmosphere.
The thing is, like, if noise could make it open its fucking ears up, then let's say a trained soldier with an M16, a gun's making a lot of fucking noise.
But I think it's a frequency thing too. It had something to do with a specific frequency.
Certain noise. Yeah. Could be, but
it's probably anything like over a certain frequency. It's just too painful for their like really sensitive hearing, and so it's totally debilitating.
All the armies of the world couldn't fix it or figure out how to beat it, and then this pregnant lady, new mother, with a shotgun can take one down.
See, this for me falls under plausibility versus probability, and like you know what I'm saying. It's plausible. It's not probable, but it's plausible, and it serves the purpose of the story. So there are certain times where you gotta kind of let up, I think, but.
And the thing is, like, they did a really good job of keeping it believable. Yeah. And it's got to be hard when working on a concept like this, because you needed to have the monster be unstoppable for 90% of the film. That's what makes a horror movie a horror movie. If everybody makes good decisions and the creature is always killable, then it's not a fucking horror movie. It's like an adventure movie or like a fucking drama. You need people to make stupid, fucking terrible mistakes to make a horror movie. You know what I mean? If everybody in a horror movie is smart, it doesn't fucking work.
Unless whatever they're up against is so unstoppable, like Alien or this.
But I mean, like, think about any horror death, like any of the mainstream horror movies. Like, you always know, like they say, like, don't go in there.
Yeah, don't go upstairs.
Yeah, don't open the fucking Ouija board in the attic.
Leave the Ouija board alone. You need people
to be insanely stupid and insanely blind to have these movies work. So you needed to have a deaf daughter that fucking punks out on her family and basically causes her brother and father to die. You need people to make mistakes like that, or else it's not going to work as a film.
Well, I don't think she wasn't really like responsible for her father, though.
No.
She might have.
She turned off the fucking hearing aid that was causing the monsters to run away.
That, though.
She had 3 opportunities to clue into this.
No,
fact.
she didn't. No, she had one. She had one, I think.
No, she scares one in the corner.
She didn't know that.
She scares it in the grain elevator.
That it's even there.
She scares it in the grain elevator.
She doesn't know that it's there.
She scares it in the truck.
She doesn't know it's there in the cornfield. She doesn't know that thing was behind her, so she was just thought it was like this weird anomaly. And then it happened in the grain elevator, which is when she had a chance to clue in, and she did.
And it happens in the fucking truck, bud. I'm saying, if they didn't have a deaf daughter, I think that the NAACP needs to get. Is the NAACP that deals with?
I don't think so.
National Association of I can't fucking remember. The Civil Liberties Union needs to get involved in this movie.
Okay, the this is what I thought it was. The NAACP is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. That's what the NAACP is.
I fucking knew.
So, as soon as you said that, I was like, what?
I knew it didn't sound right either.
Woo!
We are not American.
We're not American. Now we definitely can. Now we definitely can't
acronyms.
release our Get Out episode.
Oh my god. You just wait till the African Americans get a hold of this fucking movie. Not a single one of them.
Oh shit. That was good.
So yeah, the Civil Liberties Union needs to get involved in this. Deaf people are not this stupid.
She's not stupid. She's a kid and she happens to be deaf.
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off, Darren. If I was that brother, I would exile her. I would stick 100,000 cowbells to that bitch and I'd tell her to start running.
Oh my god. I don't think she could run with that many cowbells on her. She wouldn't be going anywhere.
Whatever number that she can...
No, then what you do is you give her the baby and tell her to walk into the woods with the baby. Two birds with one stone.
Fuck. So the movie ends with the frequency by putting it up to that microphone. Now a ton of these things are coming into the basement. And what they're going to do is make them all stroke out and then shoot them in the head.
I think there's two
so,
more
like,
on the way.
they've kind of won. But it's also a very dangerous thing to be
I think
doing.
there's only 2 more of those monsters.
I thought I saw a bunch coming up on the screen. There might only be 2 more. Like, it did say that there was only 3 confirmed in the area, but I thought there was many of them coming.
I don't know. I'd have to watch it again.
Anyways, regardless, Signs number 2 with Jim ends with they figured out the Achilles heel of the monster. Now, an 11-year-old that can't hear can now end the lives of these aliens.
And that was like the very last moment of the film. Is such a huge like tone shift and atmosphere shift. All of a sudden, it's just like, let's get him. Like she's like cocks the shotgun. Yeah. Let's do this.
The mom, Emily Blunt, locks and loads at the end of the movie. And that might have been studio. Maybe what if the movie had ended with all of them dying?
Or just, you could just end it after, they discover the weakness. But just like that extra, like, let's do this. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, drops in. Get to the basement!
I could totally see that as something that got tagged on. It was
suits,
a big tonal shift.
The damn suits.
Well, because it's a very serious movie. I don't think there's a single laugh in it other than that raccoon getting smushed. And that was just because I'm a weirdo.
I don't know. I laughed at the baby box too. So.
But
I'm
it takes itself very seriously, and it does a good job at being serious. So her locking and loading at the end maybe it was just to alleviate the tension.
Fuck that! Why would you alleviate the tension? The whole movie's that's the whole purpose of the film is tension.
Because it's a family.
Oh,
it's a family
wank,
movie. It's not about like
wank.
one person surviving. It's not about one person surviving. It's about the family surviving. So every mom that comes to see this can be like, "Oh, good, they're gonna get."
Yeah, but fuck those
5
people.
Stars. 5 stars.
No, that. Like there is no letting up. Even if these fuckers survive the night, this is the day-to-day problem that they face. Is this extreme tense silence. This perpetual silence filled with tension and anxiety. That is their existence.
Okay, Neil.
I'm just saying.
Existence is paid.
Their lifestyle.
I don't want to live in your horror movie.
Those people, their lives would be 95% anxiety and tension.
Okay, let me ask you this. You said at the end that it turned into like a Schwarzenegger movie. Would you rather live in a Schwarzenegger movie or a Villeneuve movie?
Yeah, but horror movies aren't about places we'd rather live in.
Darren, I'm just saying. I think that as a larger audience for what people came to that movie for, you don't come to a roller coaster to fucking fly off.
Yeah, but horror movies aren't.
You come to experience the tension of rocketing around, and then you're safe. You get that nice safe feeling at the end.
You get the safe feeling at the end because the movie ends and you're not dead, and you go back to your life where you don't have to walk down the fucking street barefoot in sand paths that you've made, or else these insanely fast creatures will run around and kill you.
Welcome to popular cinema. You know why I've been comparing it to Signs? Because everything gets wrapped up very conveniently at the end of the movie. Unlike a Villeneuve movie, unlike The Witch, unlike a lot of the movies that you like to watch, in popular movies, shit works out okay in the end. And you're going to have to get used to that, given that that's the type of shit that we watch now.
Don't care. I don't care for it. I don't
okay.
care for it.
Things can
I don't care for it.
I sense a lot of darkness.
Hey, man. Hey, you know what? The leaf at the end of Waiting for Godot, that's enough hope for anyone. That should be enough.
I've never seen it.
It's not a movie. It's a play.
It's a fucking
it's
play.
A play.
I've heard about it's like two guys waiting for God, right? Yeah. Anyway, we can't segue that hard because we're at 56 minutes, so we got to wrap this up in the next 3. I would give this like I think Rotten Tomatoes has it at like 93. I don't think that that's a misrepresented. Yeah. I think that this movie was excellent. They definitely played with sound in a way that I've not experienced before. Maybe it's been done in art films, but as like a mainstay release, they fucking crushed it out of the park. I enjoyed it. As always, we're kind of assholes, so the scientific logic kind of fell through at the end, but it doesn't stop it from being a great movie. Darren?
I really enjoyed it. I loved the tension. I loved the intensity. The baby in the box made me laugh. I don't know if I would be adding it to my collection. That's probably a no.
I really like The Office, so I could pretty much watch John Krasinski.
See, I would just watch The Office, though.
That's true, but he doesn't have a beard, though.
Yeah.
I'm a little gay for John. Yeah, if you are in like a Walmart and you see this movie and it's like, okay, there's the dollar bin and you can buy like Signs for like $1, or you could buy this movie for like $15.
I would definitely buy this movie. The only reason the only reason I wouldn't add it to my collection because the main reason I enjoyed it is pretty much a one-time deal.
I wouldn't say necessarily. You know what? I really appreciate Emily Blunt as an actress. She did a great job. The kid actors did a great job, but they were annoying. But that was their job. They did a great job in.
It's funny. I think the deaf girl annoyed you more than she annoyed me, and I think that little boy annoyed me more than he annoyed you.
Oh fuck! The deaf girl is just like, I just hate that in movies where somebody has to produce all the tension. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels so bad to watch somebody fuck up that hard constantly. Because you know somebody wrote her like that.
Yeah, I would almost say that I would almost say that that's a flaw in the film. If the majority of people who watch this movie view the character the way you do, I think it would be a misstep somewhere in the character.
It's almost like she has a lot of negative characteristics, and we don't get to see her be.
Well, she's got her fucking teenaged angsty shit going on, and she takes off like an asshole when she's supposed to be helping her pregnant mother who's about to pop. Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna leave my mom who's about to give birth at any moment here to go off and feel sorry for myself.
And she only becomes a liability because she's not adding any positivity. And I would almost say that they expect you to root for her because her disability makes life harder. But I would say that that's fucking super lazy because I don't give a fuck what's going on with her, but she's not a likable character. Having a disability doesn't make you all of a sudden a likable character. And I hope that's not their intention.
No, I think Dustin from Stranger Things, I think they did a much better character with him.
haven't watched enough Stranger Things. I can't tell if you're being serious or if you're shitting on Stranger
No, I'm not shitting on Stranger Things.
Okay, good. So we're gonna have to leave it at that, guys. If you like this podcast, fucking like our Facebook page and call us and give us $5 and write a nice review.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. Share with everybody. Share with everybody.
We got an email.
Oh, yeah.
There's at least one person that I do not know that listens to this.
We have to give a shout out to Al, who emailed us asking when we would be back.
Whoever you are, you beautiful motherfucker. Or fucktris, whichever.
No gender assumption made.
No gender assumption made. I'll kiss you on the mouth. Bye.